Good afternoon and welcome to The Rundown. I am your host, Captivating Christian, and here are some of your top stories for today, the 18th of December. Chicago officials attempted to block the release of Anjanette Young's video. However, Mayor Lightfoot denied any prior knowledge of the Erroneous home invasion. And the second federal judge in one day to dismiss Georgia's GOP attack on absentee voting in the Senate runoff. And a graphic dashcam video that shows a black man being run over by a Kansas deputy. And black children are 6 times more likely to be shot to death by police. And from Hellhole to Hotspot, accounts inside the DC jail during COVID-19. And a black family in Texas say that cars set on fire. Trump 2020 also painted on the house due to a Black Lives Matter sign. Photos of the scene in a Dallas suburb show missing car parts, black soot surrounding the vehicles, and a front bumper is completely burned to ashes. Let's get to the news. Chicago police conducting an erroneous home invasion circulated around the country yesterday as Mayor Lori Lightfoot evaded questions about why her administration had attempted to prevent the body cam footage for being released. At the center of the video was Anjanette Young, a 50-year-old clinical social worker who had just gotten off work and was undressing when Chicago police officers barged into her home in February of 2019, searching for a felon they believed possessed firearms. If you would like to take a look at that video, you can also look at yesterday's rundown where I also discussed this exact story. But however, this part of the story is talking about the mayor and the rest of the city's efforts to block the body cam footage from being released. They claim that the footage would have given viewers an inaccurate picture of what happened during the subject of the search. When the mayor was asked directly why her lawyers attempted to prevent the footage from being broadcast, Lightfoot didn't give a direct answer, nor did she acknowledge that she was already in office when the Chicago Police Department initially denied the Freedom for Information Act request, which was made by both Young. Instead, Lightfoot tried to shift focus to new protocols that the Chicago Police Department had to follow with regard to search warrants enacted during her administration. A GoFundMe organized by writer and University of Chicago professor Eve Ewing went live yesterday with a goal to raise $30,000 for the Progressive Baptist Church Social Justice Ministry, of which Young is a part of. The ministry provides legal assistance and support to Chicagoans facing situations similar to her own. And for the second time in just one day, a federal judge in Georgia tossed out a Republican-led challenge against absentee voting in the Peach State runoff election now underway. In 2018, Judge Ross ruled against a voter roll purge by then Secretary of State Brian Kemp. Kemp later, however, became Georgia's Republican governor and has been attacked by outgoing President Donald Trump repeatedly for refusing to hand him the Peach State election. Judge Ross' latest ruling rejects a challenge brought by Georgia's Republican Party and the National Republican Senatorial Committee, Purdue for Senate, and Georgia's Kelly Loeffler a week ago. Hoping to turn a corner from Trump's resounding losses, two of the party's attorneys from the heavyweight law firm of McGuire Woods tried to distance themselves from the courtroom antics of the lame duck and his allies and his proxies. The Republicans in this case want to increase the number of eyes on the absentee ballots during the signature matching process of verification. The other lawsuit rejected this morning also challenged early possession of absentee ballots and the use of an unattached drop-off box. Both lawsuits failed in part because of the legal antics of the right-wing lawyer Lynn Woods, whose conspiracies have made it harder for the conservative mainstream to get their lawsuits out of the gate. The 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, which is binding upon Georgia's tightening the rules for jurisdiction in rejecting an appeal, a ruling by a Trump-appointed judge who found Woods' last-ditch bid to block certification of the Peach State vote failed as a matter of law and fact. All eyes are on Georgia for the upcoming runoff election for both U.S. Senate seats. The GOP's federal lawsuit noted that public confidence in the integrity of the election process is essential to preserve our democratic system. All eyes are on Georgia for the upcoming runoff election for both U.S. Senate seats. The GOP federal lawsuit noted that public confidence in the integrity of the election process is essential to the preservation of our democratic system. That confidence has been under relentless assault by Trump and his GOP loyalists. A dashcam video from the Pratt County Sheriff's Office shows a scene of a Kansas sheriff deputy in a patrol truck mowing down a man. That man happened to be Lonnie Warmack, a 35-year-old former police detective from Kansas City.
As a police officer myself, I rewatched it 4 times, just trying to get some sort of understanding as to why that officer felt justified in using deadly force. He called me that night about 4:30, 4:45 in the morning. He said, the police officers ran me over with their truck. And I'm like, well, what do you mean they, ran you over? And he's like, he ran me over with his truck and then he tried to back over me. To me, it showed a blatant disregard for human life. I don't see any justification for using deadly force in that situation.
And yet again, here we have another display of the lack of human decency for someone, even if they are running from the police or evading the police. This happened to be a former police detective who was shirtless, running from the police, I believe, from a traffic infraction. And so, was it necessary for you to use excessive force, the power of a vehicle, nonetheless, to run this man over, and then attempted to back up over the same human being? So the lack of respect and dignity for someone who happens not to be of saltine in color is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I just find it like enough's enough. And again and again and again, and I'll keep saying it and I'll keep saying it. This is why we're calling for a defunding of police departments, because of the just the brazen kind of sense of authority and power that these people use and think that that's okay. They would have never done that to someone who looked like them. The fact that we always keep coming back to this same kind of situation where in which they're running over, busting in the door of someone of color and then telling them to calm down and relax and stop raising your voice when they are in the wrong is ridiculous. And enough's enough already. And be sure to join Jay Wilson, Rebel Sun, The Official King Payne, Conscious TV, and Captivating Christian this and every Thursday at 6:45 Central Standard Time, 7:45 Eastern Standard Time for the Gentleman's Panel, where we are not afraid to go there and discuss an array of topics. See you there. Black children were 6 times more likely to be shot to death by police than their white peers over a 16-year period, according to a study published by the Journal of Pediatrics that offers support for the disparities long highlighted by activities. Hispanic children were 3 times more likely to be shot to death than white children, the study found. The results are not surprising, but that doesn't take away from the tragedy of these results. Police mistreatment of black adults took center stage this year as protests unfolded across the United States following the death or serious injury of people in police custody. Similar cases in recent years involved black children, including 12-year-old Tamir Rice, which highlights how minors, too, can be victims of police violence. The study found that 140 adolescents died from police interventions from 2003 to 2018, and that those cases, only 131 involving firearms. The vast majority of the victims, roughly 93%, were males, with an average age of 16 years old. During the same period, 6,512 adults were fatally shot by police, and black and Hispanic adults had the highest mortality rate compared to those of white adults. The health disparities existed before the pandemic. Black newborn babies are 3 times more likely to die when looked after by white doctors as opposed to black ones. And black children, even when healthy, are 3 times more likely to suffer serious complications or even die after surgery. Black children are also more likely to go missing compared to white children, despite representing a smaller population in the U.S. Hey, this is Captivating Christian here to remind you to tune in to Politics and Wellness every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Politics and Wellness every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. An inmate at the District of Columbia Jail was describing his life behind bars as COVID-19 pandemic took hold. In a written statement, one of several submitted to the Federal District Court in D.C. in a lawsuit filed in March by the Public Defender's Service and the ACLU of D.C. against the D.C. Department of Corrections, the complaint cites a range of violations in jail, including substandard medical care, sanitation, failure to conduct proper testing, and lack of basic protective gear and social distancing measures. Located less than 2 miles east of the U.S. Capitol and Supreme Court on the stretch of the Anacostia Riverfront, the D.C. jail stands as a monument to the persistent racial and economic inequalities of the capital city and the nation it represents. D.C. has a higher incarceration rate than any state in the Union, outpacing the nearest rival, Oklahoma, Louisiana, and Mississippi. While the district has grown both wider and richer, the population of the jail has remained closely 90% Black, mostly poor. This means that the health risks posed by the jail's horrific conditions are comprised by underlying racial disparities in the impact of COVID-19, which make African Americans 3 times more likely to contract the virus and 2 times more likely to die from it. The ACLU and the Public Defender's Office found that the conditions in the jail led to an spread of the coronavirus, which has so far infected hundreds of people and killed 1 incarcerated person and 1 corrections officer. The situation was so bad that the correction officers union feared for their members and own safety. Critics subsequently proposed for a new jail, which would be better but also larger for its failures to address the more enduring problems. DC's legacy of over-policing, over-incarcerating, and over-dehumanizing its most vulnerable community members, a problem that would not be solved by building hundreds of pristine cages. The DC jail also has a history of excessively using solitary confinement. The Department of Corrections memo on the use of restrictive housing reported back in 2017 that 9% of the people who were held in solitary at a given moment, and in 2018, 8% of the people were held in solitary confinement. This is roughly 3 times the national average of people held in solitary in jails across the country, including, according to the Bureau of Justice Statistics released in 2015. A black family in Texas say that they're victims of a hate crime after their two cars were set on fire and their house was vandalized with the phrase Trump 20 last week, which they believe was a response to their Black Lives Matter sign. Jayla Gibson, age 36, told ABC News her 21-year-old son was using the restroom shortly after midnight last Wednesday when he smelled smoke. He went outside and then made the discovery. Police in Little Elms, a Dallas suburb, say officers and firefighters responded to the Gibson's home after a 911 call reporting a vehicle fire and vandalism at the home's garage. No arrests or injuries were reported, but an investigation is underway. Gibson says she's never experienced any acts of hate since moving to Little Elm back in 2017. She attributes Wednesday's incident to a Black Lives Matter sign the family placed on their front yard a day before Thanksgiving. Investigators have not determined a motive for the incident, nor have they determined if it was a hate crime. A GoFundMe was set up by her neighbors to cover the cost of the family's losses. While Gibson says she is grateful for the outpouring of support from her community and friends, she said no one deserves this treatment regardless of political views. Once again, thank you for watching CCN Midday News. Hope you enjoyed. Please like, share, and subscribe. Also hit that notification button so you will never miss another news update. Have a great day. Peace.